Hi there. This is my third attempt at this demonstration because me and Sketchup don't get on too well, but what I'm going to do is create a fairly simple model that would form the basis of a shadow study. So I'm going to show you the site so you can acquaint yourself to the shapes of the two buildings that we're looking at. So this is kind of in support of a student project in St Andrews, and what I'm looking at is these two buildings and they're different height. I'm going to assume they're the same roof pitch of 35 degrees, okay, but they've got slightly different things happening behind. One's got a stairwell halfway along its back edge, and this one's got a kind of a two-story portion attached to it as well. So I'm going to kind of simplify things along the way. So what I've done is taken a piece of Digimap, the Ordnance Survey Mastermap, and brought that into AutoCAD to use as a base drawing. And you could use the shapes you've got here, but the way the Ordnance Survey has been created, it's pretty rough. You very rarely will encounter 90-degree corners, and that's generally how buildings have been made. We try and kind of achieve 90 degrees where possible. It makes everything a bit more predictable. So to that end, what I've done is tidied up the footprint of these two buildings. Okay, so I'm just going to bring on that layer. So I called it trace. So what I do is kind of decide on which line is going to be the kind of controlling one, and so I drew that line initially, that white line, and then aligned my coordinate system to that line. So it's UCS, enter, object, enter, and if I pick that line, you see the coordinates are locking onto it. So I've got to make sure I don't pick the purple one, because that's the original Ordnance Survey. So I'll make sure I pick the white line, and then with ortho on, everything you draw from there on is square to that line. And it's surprising how square stuff really actually wants to be, but isn't on the Ordnance Survey. Okay, now to help matters, what I've done is also create these little sketch elevations. Okay, so I'm just going to drop on another layer here. So this is what's happening behind. Let me just regenerate this, because they're supposed to be dashed lines. Okay, so this is what you're seeing. You're seeing through this frontage, and you're seeing the shape of that behind, and the shape of this extension bit behind as well. Okay, and I've just kind of estimated heights. Using Google Earth, you can measure using the ruler tool on here. So if you use the ruler, use a 3D path, and just take an average. Do your measurements 2 or 3 times, and you can kind of take an average of that distance of 9.92 meters, whatever. So I'm making things a bit easy for myself here. I've gone and changed the dimensions. Okay. So back to AutoCAD. Okay, so let's just have a look at this. I'll just pull this annotate layer on as well, so you can just see how things aren't very square in the Ordnance Survey. That's a complete fluke that one's 90 degrees. But everything over here with what I've drawn is more predictable. So if I put a few more dimensions on there, we should get I'll use an angular one. So this would be 135 degrees, 45, 90, etc. Okay, so you're trying to make it easy for yourself to model. When this goes into Sketchup, it's much more difficult to get things to align if you're not using the protractor device on the objects. So here's the heights that I'm going to work with. So really these are the only dimensions that I'm going to put into SketchUp. So just 2 different heights, a height for the flat bit that occurs on this roof, and a height for the extension at the back. Okay, one little bit here that we probably should have is in detail is that this roof would come through, and if I copy these, then the roof shape will be a bit more accurate, and that would be trimmed out. Okay, in real life there is actually a chimney breast wall here which breaks those two up, which you can see there. Okay, but I'm not modelling that just now because it's really just for a shadow study, and I'm not going to get into too much detail. Okay, now you could kind of rotate everything so that it's a bit easier to model in SketchUp. We could put this back to being horizontal, but you're then not at the true orientation, and if you're not very careful with the kind of base point for the rotation, then if you want to bring other bits to the model, the chances are they're going to end up in the wrong place. So I'm going to keep this all at the kind of true rotation. One thing to bear in mind is that you should bring any master map information down to the world coordinate system. So I'm just going to put the UCS back to normal. So we're back on the world coordinate system. See, there's a little square in the box there, where the axes meet. So your model wants to really be close to the origin as possible, because otherwise it adds on a huge number onto every coordinate. And St Andrews is just under 800 kilometers away from the Ordnance Survey base position, which is kind of off the tip of Cornwall. So I think that's generally where the origin sits. Okay, so we'll get this exported now so we can bring it into SketchUp. So I'm just going to make my white lines here, my trace layer, the current one, and turn everything else off. Okay, so we could use the here, there's quite a few layers there, so I'm just going to use the keyboard instead. -LA, enter, off, enter, star, enter twice. Enter 3 times actually. Okay, I'm going to take that shape through as well, just to show you that you can, quite easily model, using the Ordnance Survey as it is, but you do get kind of shapes get compromised if you do that. Okay, so I'm just going to W block this chunk out. Okay, I'm going to send it to my desktop and call it site. Okay, we can retain these in the drawing. I don't need to pick a point because I'm going to use 0, 0, so that if I want to bring anything else into this later, it's going to use the same position. So okay, so that's created a drawing on my desktop. So I'm going to launch SketchUp for Web now. I think I might actually have it open already. I do indeed. So I'm going to create a new file, and it didn't give me an option there of a template to use. I think we'll maybe just go through that again just to see. I just want to see. No, that's rather strange. Usually you kind of get some kind of option for templates there, but not this time. But I'm assuming we're working in millimeters. It maybe picks up on anything I've done before, but we'll see once we bring the file in what kind of units we'll be working with. Okay, so I'll import from my device. Okay, and I called it site.dwg and open. Importing as a components wise, that keeps everything together, and anything that you draw on top then isn't going to stick to it. So I'm going to import as component. I'll preserve the drawing origin and import. It's only 2D stuff, so there's nothing to change there. Now I've got a units thing here. I'm just going to leave that as in model and just go with that. Takes a few seconds. It's not a very big one, so it shouldn't take too long. You'll get a message up here in a second saying my stuff's ready to use. Okay, import, and we're going to place it at Sketchup's origin. Okay. Okay, now try and be organized. I'll put that onto its own tag. It's probably untagged at the moment, so tags is the equivalent of layers. So here's the wee tags pop out. It's got one already. We could leave it on that. Let's just see if it's behaving. Yeah, fine. That's good enough. We can run with that. So let's create a new tag here, and I'll just call it, I'm going to just do this one first and call it building number 1, something like that. So I'll just say it's called build 1. Okay, make that the current one. Okay, I'm just going to trace around what we've got. Okay, I don't want it to kind of snap onto this kind of SketchUp's own axes, so you can use the Alt key to stop it doing that. So you don't have to hold it, you just have to press it. So you see there it says linear referencing all off. So I'm using kind of the object snaps instead. Okay, so we should get surface now that we can extrude. This is just a test, just to show you what happens when you use the kind of existing information. So we'll just pull it up. Okay, so everything's okay with that, but we'll divide this. So say we were putting a roof that's going to go up and over, so we'd go midpoint to midpoint. Okay, and then if we tried to adjust that, if we tried to move that line, okay, can you see the way the surfaces on the roof have been sliced across? There's a buckle in the roof. It's not huge, it's not that, it wasn't that far off square, it was only kind of a degree or so off square, but we'll just pop it up and then kind of turn it round, and you can kind of see there's a kind of a twist in the roof. It's only when you kind of look down the edge that you see that it's not quite in line. Okay, so it all depends, how accurate you want to be, and just how quick you want to work. So you can hide that line to lessen the problem. So if you get your pointer tool and if you right click it, you can hide the junctions. So you see there, that's slightly darker than this one. Okay, try that one, right click that one and hide. So when you hide the lines, it does help. So you can be a lot kind of looser with your modeling if you want to be. So we're going to move on to this building first. This one's probably the simpler of the two. Okay, so I'll create a new tag, and in St Andrews this one is I think it's a fashion shop called Fat Face, so I'll just make that the name of the tag. Fat Face will do. Make it current. Okay, and then we'll go for this roof top bit first. Okay, so I'm just gonna, don't want it, see the way it's jumping onto the line parallel with the red there? Okay, so if you press Alt, it stops doing that. Okay, and then in AutoCAD we'd had that positioned, if I just bring the annotate back, 13,500 above. Okay, so back to SketchUp. Oops, wrong one. So what I'll do is I'll move that up and get it out of the way. Okay, so we'll just want the move tool. Okay, and here I do want it to go onto the blue direction, so the vertical. I want it to go vertically, so I'm looking for it to go onto the blue axis. Let my mouse go, and then 13,500. Okay, so that's up above, ready for us to model with. Now, whenever you're modeling, it's maybe wise to get away from the perspective view, because that's, if you're doing that, you can't necessarily see if things are stacked properly. Okay, so I'm going to go to the scenes, call out the scenes tab here, and change from perspective to parallel. Okay, and now it's a bit easier to see, you know, the relationship of objects when they're above each other. You know, and I could check this, that shape should be directly above this one if we go to the top-down plan view. So that's what you need to kind of regularly do. Just keep an eye on alignment as you go. So we'll go back to this view. Oh, wrong one. What would be this one then? Try again. Okay. So let's bring the walls up now, and then we can put the roof. The roof should just be a simple infill because everything's worked out already from CAD. So we're looking for a height of 11,000 for this part of the building. Okay, so I'll just trace around it. Okay, I don't want to snap onto the red axis or the other, so turn the inferencing off. Okay, and then extrude that shape. I've forgotten the number already. That's ridiculous. 11,000. Okay. Okay, 11,000. So you just, the whole point of this is trying to make the modeling easy for you. So, you know, give yourself nice round numbers to work with. Don't make it, you know, who's going to be able to tell the difference of a few, you know, 100 millimeters or so. So just taking that lid off because we don't need it, and then if we join the corners here, we should end up with surfaces. The wee tags on this on Sketchup always kind of sit right where you want to pick. It has a tendency to do that. Okay, so just join the corners. This should finish off two faces simultaneously. Okay, so that looks pretty tidy. Now the back is a little bit trickier because we don't know where this is going to hit the wall. We need to do a bit of drawing to establish that. Okay, so let's get the kind of footprint in first. So we just need 3 lines, tabbing it Alt again just to stop it jumping onto the underlying grid. So we said 6,000 for this one. Okay, and then I'm going to use the protractors now to try and set up a bit of kind of geometry for us to work with. Okay, so this is where me and Sketchup kind of start not being friends, because I'm so used to using the UCS system in AutoCAD that I tend to do this differently every single time I do it. So the protractors are hidden under, they're not under move. Here we go, under this one. It's kind of a helpers type button, and there's the protractor. Okay, so what I'm wanting to do is set up 35-degree angles that I can work with. Now I do have a face here, but it's not quite giving me the position I want. So I'm gonna create the guidelines on this face, and then I can copy them back or move them back to where I want them. So I'll go for this corner, align, and then specify your angle. So we're just being consistent with this model, and just make all the slate roofs 35 degrees. So do the same on this corner. Okay, 35. Okay, and then what I'm just going to do is move those back the way. Okay, so we'll do pick the two. So I need hold control as well, and then I'm going to move those from this end point to this one. Okay, so that's the position that we need to hit the wall. That's our kind of ridge position. Okay, it'd be useful to have to know what 35 degrees is coming from this pitch. Okay, but we could do that in a number of ways. I'm just going to draw a line across from midpoint to midpoint. Okay, and I'm going to draw a line down here. Okay. Okay, so another line from here. I want this to come up vertically. So it's saying it's coming up on blue axis, that's okay. I don't want it to touch anything else. So I'm just going to kind of angle myself so I've not got anything in the background to pick on. So I'm just going to let that go up. It's not kind of lining up with that point, so that's okay, but as long as it's vertical. And I'll try one now from here across, and on edge should be good. Okay, so I just wanted to get the vertical face there that I can then align to, and we've got a line that we can also draw along. So we use the protractor again, and hopefully we can place it on this object. It's being a bit fussy, so I'm going to try this face instead. Okay, and 35. Okay, I'm going to move that now. Okay, should be able to go from here to here, and then we've got the kind of geometry we need. So we need that little bit of line, and then we can put in the roof surfaces. So let's just go straight for that. We should be able to get an intersection at this position. That's good. A line there. A line here. It's going to create a surface, so we're good. Okay, we can clear things away now that we don't need. So we don't need that line, don't need that surface, don't need this line, or this, or this, or this, or this. We'll keep the guides just now. This one can go though. And yeah, I'm sure lots of other people who are a lot more fluent at SketchUp could have done that in a ridiculously simple way. I've probably made a whole meal of that, but that's just the way it is. I'm sorry. Okay, and we'll get rid of these now. Could use one of those. We'll keep one of those. Actually, I'll move it up to this position. May as well. It'll save us kind of creating it again. So if we take it from there and put it midpoint on there, because we do have a collision to create here later on. Okay, so that's the fat face building. So what we're going to do is group that so that we don't end up kind of chopping into it with the next building. Just wondering if I think I'll just get rid of this one just now because it's probably a bit superfluous. Okay, so if we grab all this, don't want to pick up that line. Okay, and then right click that, and we want to make it a group. Doesn't have to be, I'm not going to repeat it, so I don't really need to make it a component, so I'll just make it a group. Okay, good so far. Right, let's create another tag for the Costa coffee shop. So Costa. Okay, now the base form is okay. This is the trickier bit, a bit like this. It's this back bit that's got all the collisions in it. Okay, so if we just click off, get rid of that grouping, and we'll just do the simple bit first. Okay, so trace around. Okay, the extrusion height for that we're saying is 9,000. Okay, and then we can set up our 35-degree roof using the protractor again. I do like this. It is quite a neat facility. Now that's kind of jumped a wee bit there. I'm not too happy with that. Let's try that again. Okay, that's a bit happier with that. 35. Okay, do the same at this side. 35. Okay, I'm just going to move those across to the other side. So I'll pick them first. And then move them. Okay. Now just Control C and Control V, just drop another set of them there, just so I can use those. So we're kind of got a fair bit of stuff ready to go here. I'm just wondering if this line, if it'll let me extend it through and keep going onto line. So that's looking quite good. No, it's not. You see, it's jumped away, it's jumped off in the angle. Just undo that last bit. See if we can get one that's going to actually go on the line. Yeah, but it goes on the line, it doesn't necessarily stay horizontal. So this is where it kind of gets a bit trickier. So I'm just going to pause the video there and just make sure I get this right before I kind of commit. Okay, how do we trial run there? I think got it to work. So I'm just going to draw a line down, okay, and then along this particular diagonal. Okay, escape that. Then I'll bring a line from this intersection. Okay, and I'm looking for on line. On edge is good. Okay, on edge, but it's got to be on that black line. Okay, let's have a look at the elevation and see if these two are in line with each other. Okay, it looks pretty good. So, you know, that's as good as I'm going to manage, I think. So we'll go back to that. That's given us positions we can now draw from, so we can fill in the rest of the roof shape. So we should have an intersection here. Okay, back up. That surface is facing the opposite way because I drew it clockwise. So I'll just demonstrate that if you've not seen this before. Maybe if I go this way I might get it to face the other way. No. So let's just take that line away. What I'm going to do is go anti-clockwise instead. So I'll take the line from there up to here. Okay, and then a line from here to here. Let's see if it's still wanting to face the wrong way. So we should be able to flip that face, reverse the face, so the darker bit is on the inside. So it just kind of gives you an impression, it gives you the notification that that face is facing outwards. When it's light, it's facing outwards. When it's dark, it's facing inwards. When you kind of do screen grabs or export PNGs and things, you don't want these kind of dark blue bits all over the place if possible. Okay, so let's get the rest of the roof in. Okay, and then we can hide these lines to make things a bit cleaner. So we shouldn't need that guide anymore, or this one. That line isn't needed. There'll be a bit of cutting out to do inside in a second. So I'm just going to take that away. And these lines and the guide as well, just as I go, rather than leave it till later on. Okay, if we draw a line down here now, remember, kind of go anti-clockwise. So, okay, so that is now a surface which we that's part of the fat face building, so it won't chop that bit. So I'll take that back. Okay, and we need a line up to there. Okay, we could have taken that line diagonally across to here, would have given us, you know, it would be the same kind of result. but remember we've hidden a line just there, so in kind of purist modeling terms that's not great, because it leaves a couple of corners here that aren't connected to anything. So you're probably better to kind of stick with the same regime. Okay, it's created another triangle here that's not needed. Okay, and then we need an edge down here, so I'll go anti-clockwise and hide this one. Okay, get rid of the guide. So just trying to get the model as clean as I can as I go. Okay, I'm going to hang on to this line. It might be useful when we're working on this. I think it will be. Okay, so we're doing the tower now, and when this was drawn it was on purposely faceted instead of using a curve, just so we can get, you know, a bit more predictability with the modeling, and it keeps the polygon count down quite considerably. So we're still on the we should still be on the Costa building. Oops, everything's not on the right layer here. Fat face building behaving? Doesn't seem to be. We're getting nothing hiding at the moment. Let me just check. Only that is hiding. That's bizarre. Let me just grab all this, and I'm going to put it onto this layer. Assign tag. Right, that's better. Is this group? Let's just make sure that goes onto the fat face building. Oh, that's a bit better. Even build one's not behaving. I just haven't assigned the tags properly. I was thinking that even though it was the current layer it was actually going to behave, but it didn't. Okay, right. Works. That works. That works. And that stuff works. Good. Okay, so we're still on Costa building. And we just need to trace around this now. I'll go anti-clockwise. I need to use the Alt here. Trying to get to the point before the tag appears. Okay, extrude that to the height of the eaves of the building. Okay, now we could use one of these guides coming from this position and one from the middle of that wall as well. Don't want to move it. So let's see if it will let us do that. Okay, I've got it in control. Pretty sure that's the middle. And we'll place one there as well. Okay, because we need to kind of establish where this bit of line occurs. Okay, we need the angle coming in this way as well, but from this particular point. So let's see if we can get a protractor onto this face. It's been happy with me just now. Okay, so 35. Hopefully we only need to do one side. I don't think we need to necessarily do both. Oh yeah, probably do need to do both sides. So let's do this side as well. Okay, oh, it's just being a bit sticky now. Here. Come on. You know you want to. It's being awkward. Okay, just pick that up again. It's been especially awkward here, so I'm going to do my guideline on this face instead at 35, and then I'm going to move that to where I want it. So I'll pick the guideline and move it. Okay, I want it at this end point there. Okay, I'll do the same with the other one. Move it from here to there. Okay, so we've kind of got the position for our kind of radial bit of roof, and we need to try and get a line back from here. So okay, let's create a bit of temporary geometry here, see if we can try and get this position, this collision position here. So I'm going to draw across here. I'm going to draw up the roof line there. I'm going to draw downwards here. I'm going to draw across. I'm going to draw back up, and that's now lining up with the first point. So we're kind of close to what we want. I'm going to go end to end and see if that continues to edge. Ooh, thought we had it there. Maybe that looks pretty good. And like I say, you know, you SketchUp wizards that are watching this, you know, will be probably laughing at what I'm doing here, but I feel no pain. Okay, so we've kind of got what we need now. Let's put in a few surfaces. We can delete some of this stuff as we go now. We've got guidelines aren't needed. Heck of a lot of joeying there to get what I wanted, but that just shows my inexperience with SketchUp. And we don't need that, and we don't need that. So really thinning it down now. That's a lot better. And let's just put these bits in. Just two more to go, and that will be the model complete. So we can do a little bit of tidying up here. So I could hide this edge there. We could make this look a lot nicer, hiding lots of these. Just see if it'll let me do this a bit more. Hide those. Yeah, that's a bit easier. Grab a few at a time. Just holding the control key. Drat. I accidentally picked a face there. Let's not. Oh, oh. Okay, so it does look kind of more presentable if you kind of get rid of these, hide these lines. Not trying to do too many at a time because it's prone to failing. There you go. Okay, just the last three. Hide those. Yeah, so that looks a lot nicer, and the tracing wouldn't be needed. Looking okay. Good. Well, these are on, because these lines are on different buildings, they're possibly not hideable. I'll have a wee look, see if we can hide this. Okay, we'd have to open this group. So I edit group, and it's going to take the whole line if I hide it. Probably don't want to do that. Okay, so it's back in its group, and you know, I would probably want to group this as well, just to keep things controllable. Okay, so that's the kind of model portion complete, and then from here you're kind of looking at the shadow aspect. So I'm just going to the top down view because we want to see how the shadows behave. And if we go and put the shadows on straight away, looking for the display button here. Anyway, right at the bottom. Okay, so down here we've got shadows on or off. Okay, now because I've been in the software recently, it might have remembered a location, so I'm just going to kind of go and get location fresh. So we go to the main menu, add location, and yeah, it's kind of remembering where I've been. So you would browse, you use this device to find the location, select region, and I don't want to bring in much at all. All you need is a tiny bit just to confirm where you are. So import that. I'm not using the map in any way. Okay, this is usually a locked object, so you have to right click it, and I'm going to unlock it and delete it. Okay, so I think the shadows did get longer there. Once we brought the location in, the shadows are stretched out a heck of a lot further, because that's what would that be? That's the 8th of November. So no wonder the shadows are quite long. So you don't need to keep the map once you've brought it in. Okay, and then you're choosing specific dates and times. So I'm going to go for, say, the June 21st, so it'll be 6/21. Okay, so the shadows will be much shorter on that day. Obviously, kind of in the winter, most of your site is going to be compromised by shadows, so really you're looking for a shadow study on kind of the best day of the year initially, so we can get in a bit closer so that things are better to see. So I'll just put that back to plan. I keep forgetting to press shift when I want to pan. Okay, time. I find this quite tricky to control. So say I want midday, it really resists you putting in 12 PM. So what I'm going to do is 12:05. See, it keeps jumping to 1 o'clock. I'm not sure why that is. So it lets me do 12:05. So I'm just going to leave it at that, because at 5 minutes isn't going to make a heck of a lot of difference there. Now if we export this as a PNG, which you can download PNG, okay, what will happen is we'll have the kind of greeny beige background, and also the axes, which you maybe don't want. Okay, so you can switch off the axes, but and then you better kind of build this into a style. Okay, so I'm just going to go to Styles tab here. Okay, so that's the default style, and if you want to kind of create your own style, because I want a white background instead of this kind of beigey thing. So I'm going to edit this, but the unsaved changes to this kind of style, we'd like to save them to the style, or discard them. Let's discard. Okay, so what I want is a new style here. So let's call it Shadow Study. Oh, sorry, caps the wrong way around. Shadow Study. Okay, and it's really just the background settings that I'm interested in. So instead of the default color, I'm going to make it white, and I'm looking for my axes again, so I don't want to show the axes. Take away the model axes. Okay, just so it's a bit cleaner. Okay, there's no save button there, so I'm just assuming we're going with done. Okay, so I've got my own style that I can use for my exports of my PNGs. Okay, so I'll export this PNG now, and download PNG. I'm just going to leave these kind of default sizes. I tried this before and it keeps scaling up and scaling down, so I'll make this transparent. I'm just going to delete the previous attempts at this. Okay, so export as PNG. Okay, I'm just carefully remembering those numbers. 1920 by 880. So let's just make sure it doesn't change the sizes. Okay, so I'm going to change the time of day. Let's go for 12 PM. Okay, and I'm just going to knock it back to 12:05 and use that one. Okay, hide you. Download PNG. 1920 880. So at least it's kept the same size. Okay, we do want them to kind of overlay as easy as possible. Display, and if we go to 9 AM, 9:00 space AM, pop that in and download PNG. We got transparent again. Export. Okay. See, even that affects the screen size, the download strip from Chrome. That's dangerous, you know, from one to the other. So watch out for that. That's probably what caused the problem for me just a minute ago. But we'll open those in Photoshop now, and I'm desperately hoping they're all the same position. They kind of look good this time. Okay, so this one is the 9 AM. Okay, this one was midday, and this one was 3 PM. Okay, so we'll choose one of them to be the kind of the base image. Maybe this one, 3 PM. So we'll add a background on here. So just a new layer. Put it behind the previous, the one that's already there, and I'm just going to drop some color in there so we can see that things are transparent. Okay, and then we'll duplicate these ones across to it, and they should end up all on top of each other. So if we right click the layer name, duplicate layer to untitled, and let's just see if they're bang on top of each other. Yep. So what we're looking at is kind of where the shadows kind of overlap, so we can kind of make these transparent and then look for a shape where there's kind of clearance. And lastly, chuck this one across, 9 AM, duplicate layer to untitled. Okay, make that semi-transparent as well. Use the same transparency setting for all of them. And then we can kind of see the kind of progression through the day. So let's put them in order. Let's put 3 PM at the top. Midday, 3 PM. So just looking for kind of opportunities on the site as to where, you know, it would be a good place to locate. So, you know, if we kind of kept in this area, then we're not going to get messed up by the sun during, you know, a summer's day anyway, midsummer. So that's the idea, and hopefully that's been a useful exercise.